Puzzle. Your work are like puzzle.
Puzzle. Well, yes, I can understand why you would say I work like a puzzle. However, it's not like a puzzle. I don't see it as a puzzle. I understand why it seems that way. But it's more about solving problems and creating harmony with shapes that don't seem to fit together, but you find ways to create harmony with shapes that seem to not go together seamlessly. So puzzles are pre-designed to fit together, whereas the shapes in my works are not initially designed to fit, but you find ways to solve the problems of the shapes to bring amongst them a unified harmony so you can accomplish balance and proportion, and it makes sense. It's like improvisational jazz music.
But know? Free jazz?
It's like free jazz. You know, like, because in a jazz band, you know, Duke Ellington's band, for example, they have different instruments and all the different players have their own personalities. And the genius of Duke Ellington was that he was able to bring together the different musicians in such a way where they can find harmony with each other without changing the individual musician. You know, it was through a respect of each musician that he took on the job of finding ways to blend them together.
But you know that Thelonious Monk,
yes.
who was playing in a fantastic way,
yes,
was wearing rings on purpose to create a disharmony in his playing.
Yes, that's right. That is correct. Yes.
Which is the contrary of what you say, in fact.
Well, but even still, there was sort of like an abstract rhythmic harmony in his music that the ear can pick up on. But of course, Thelonious Monk, he never wanted anybody to how do you say? He didn't want anybody to catch him. You know, he was constantly leading you in the wilderness.
Yes.
All the time.
Exactly.
And that it is funny that he played like this because he was a big guy, you know. So that is interesting. Yes. Francis Bacon.
Yes.
Francis Bacon. He was able to create a balance with these movements and shapes.
And he's influential for you?
Yes.
That's interesting.
In fact, before coming here, we were in London, and I went to see the Francis Bacon exhibition at the Royal Academy of Arts. I cried throughout the whole exhibition. It's the most profound exhibition I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And this interview is very timely because you will be the third person with whom I have spoke about my experience of seeing the Francis Bacon exhibition. Throughout my career, my work has oftentimes been compared to Francis Bacon. In fact, my first breakout show with Pace Gallery in London back in 2014, there was a review in a paper called Huff Post. And the title said, Nathaniel Mary Quinn's disfigured portraits will make even Francis Bacon shudder. Now, during that time, I wasn't looking at Francis Bacon's work as direct inspiration, you know. I was aware of his work, but not like studying his work, you know. Never did I do that. Not until yesterday, 2 days ago, when I saw at the Royal Academy of Arts a number of his works in the same space. And I was blown away. Profound exhibition.
Because it's what you want to do?
Well, it was more like I was looking at the works done by someone who was part of my family. It was like finding the works of a lost relative.
Wow.
That's what it made me, that's why I cried.
But he was suffering a lot, no?
Well,
And he
yeah.
was masochistic too.
Yeah, you know, he was allergic to animals like dogs and horses, but he loved animals, which is why animals play such a huge part in his work. His dad owned horses. His dad died when he was young. His family moved, came back. You know, he's born in Dublin, Ireland. Quinn is an Irish name. He spent most of his life in London making these paintings. He lived through World War II.
But why is he part of your family?
Well, my family's from Chicago.
No, but I mean your painter's family, your artistic family. Why is he part of your family?
Because I can see the correlations between his practice and mine. You know.
And what's the link?
The sort of the marriage between abstraction and the figurative. I mean, I found that to be the most promising link. And also, he normally painted one solitary figure. Even if he did a triptych, each painting, each canvas had one figure.
Yes.
But they were somehow connected because they were the same person or whatever. And the work is very, it's not over intellectualized, but it's very emotive and very honest. You know, he painted from a place of great intuition. He did not overthink the process. He was working in the moment. So that is no doubt a reflection of my art practice. I too very much work in the moment.
But he was also using colors like to enjoy a pleasure. Before being an artist, he was a decorateur, you know.
That's right. He was he was a decorator.
And so, for example, when he used a purple, which is quite surprising, it's almost like decoration.
Yes, that's new information to me. But I knew about his previous profession before he went into painting.
But your relation to colors is different, no?
Yeah, it's not so much the colors, it's the form. You know, just the way he approached painting.
Okay.
It's like it's like the way someone will approach cooking. You know, like there could be a chef in America who cooks soul food, and then a chef in Paris who cooks some other kind of food, but they approach cooking the same way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the link I see with my work, well, with my practice in Francis Bacon. And it was something to be in the presence of work by an artist where you can say confidently, this was one of the greatest artists to walk the face of the earth.
Wow.
Without question, like this guy. And then tears rolling down my face, not just because I thought the works were just gorgeous and beautiful, which they were, but it was more like deep connection to the work. It made me feel like I'm on the right track. like I'm on to something. And then it reignited in me the flames of perseverance, you know, like it made clear that my well of talent is deeper than what I thought it was. And I know that I can do it. I feel it in my gut, you know?
Wow, that's huge! So, if we speak about technique,
Yes.
because there's a technical aspect in your work which is important. People think it's collage, but it's not collage.
No.
So, could you explain?
So, okay. Let me say a few things real quick.
Oui.
I do not make preliminary sketches for my work. Many artists do a pre-sketch first and they work from that. I don't do that. The pre-sketch is the vision or the mental picture that I have in my head. But when you work in the moment, you're working from the vision. But to accomplish that transition, you must work in the moment, which means you must work from the heart, from the spirit, and not from here. This can get in the way. This is the truth. And you work from that place. And it's on the actual canvas or paper where I'm solving these problems. Now, technically, what I do first is I lay down gouache as a ground,
Yes.
and the gouache dries in like 5 to 10 minutes. And because see, when you lay down the gouache, those first strokes will be the most honest strokes in the whole painting. Those first initial strokes. So you should use those strokes as a guide because those strokes are the most direct reflection of the vision in your mind, which is connected to your heart. And then that's when I start to map out different sections, you know. So the next step is I take oil paint or soft pastels, and I just lay down the marks, and I'm moving the marks across the paper or the canvas, and you're just trying to like block out the different sections, you know, like for the arm, the torso, the other arm, the face, the eyes, the nose, you know, you just laying everything in there. Then I take construction paper and I cut out the shapes with scissors. Then I put it, tape it onto the canvas. So I isolate the area and I work within that area. When you move the construction paper, that's why it looks like a collage. It only looks that way because the edges are sharp. That's the thing. But I'm not thinking collage. I'm thinking this is what must be done to fulfill the demands of the vision. And I have to stay true to the vision. For example, let's say the vision calls for the nose to be done a certain kind of way. If I do it a different kind of way, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. So I have to do it according to the vision. This is why, for me, it's important to isolate each section. But now my work is a combination of isolating areas and also allowing certain sections to bleed and blend with each other.
And when do you know that it's finished?
It's like me saying, when do you know when you are full after having a meal?
You feel it.
You just feel it.
You are really open to your feelings.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because when you're in the studio working, it's just you. No public, no writers, no critics, no people, no nothing. Just
and you look at the face that you have done, at the portrait, and what do you think?
When it's okay. it's like when you first start working, it's a discordant cacophony of sounds. You're trying to get the sounds to be rhythmic. You know, like it may start off like you're trying to get the rhythm, the balance, you know, and the reason I work in the moment is because that's where the emotional sort of topical experience comes into play. You know, that is what comes first. Like visually, it has to feel right. The balance has to be right.
To sound right.
To sound right, to feel right. Because painting is firstly a visual experience, you know, that is achieved through a lot of work and hours of labor, you know, and at the same time, you want to make sure that the work is expressing that which you want to express, so it can bring about conversation, dialogue, and so that the viewer eye can navigate the work and look at everything, you know.
Okay. A more down-to-earth question. Success.
Yes.
How do you deal with success?
Well, I found that the more successful I've become, the more insecure I have become. Success makes you more of what you have always been. I've also become more generous and more giving because I've always been a generous and giving person. You know, years ago, I would give you a quarter. Today, I can give you $10,000.
That's a good news.
Well, on the other hand, if before success you were selfish, as you become successful, you become more selfish.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the opposite to you because success doesn't change your human disposition. That only comes with an internalized transformation. Nothing external changes anybody. Change only comes from within. Joy only comes from within, not from outside.
So what's the danger of success?
I think one of the dangers of success is losing contact with humanity, with people, convincing yourself that you are invincible. That's a big danger of success.
And what about the work?
I always think the biggest danger of success in relation to your work is when the artist believes the hype of the public. When people say, oh, you're great, and then you start to believe this.
And to keep on doing the same thing.
Yeah, you never grow if you believe the hype of the public because you think you already made it. And then you deny yourself of the additional potential that you have. This is why, for me, I stay in the studio and I keep it about the work. The work got me here. So the work should help me to stay here. And another point, it's one thing to get through the door. It's another thing entirely to stay inside the door. That's different. And that requires tremendous work. That's why many successful people, when their first album, their first record, their first film, their first book, the first big art show, that's a hit. That's fantastic. But then 5-10 years later,
To last.
to dust. Because most people don't realize the sheer amount of work required to stay there. You gotta, because you got to keep pushing yourself.
And the last question is, what is your next dream?
Woo! Nowadays, my dreams are quite simple. Professionally, of course, my next dream is to have, another major solo museum exhibition at a major museum anywhere in America or Europe or whatever. But on the other hand, especially after with the pandemic and stuff like this, I think my dream is I hope to just wake up tomorrow and have my health. Simple stuff. That's it. And to have enough health to allow me to make art. That's it. Nothing deep.
Pas mal. Merci, monsieur.